Hi, welcome to Reddit Tea Time. I, 23 male, recently moved to Bulgaria. I'm completely no contact with my family ever since I was 18. I'm pretty well off and they know it, which has led my father, mid-50s abusive idiot, you know the drill, who was recently diagnosed with terminal cancer, to ask me to financially take care of my brother, 11 male. Brother and I were really close back when we lived together, and even to this day, he would call me once a week to play games with him, when I still lived in Brazil and lag wasn't a massive issue for us. So I took some time off work and flew back to Brazil to catch up with my brother. I booked us a nice hotel to stay in and all that. When talking to him about what our father asked me, I asked how the family treated him, and it was all a pretty familiar tale that had happened to me as well, and he hates them. A while after that, I met up with father at the hospital. Some family members were there, including mother, also mid-50s abusive idiot, and told them I'd financially take care of my brother until he finished college, pay for everything, rent, food, school, tutors, absolutely everything, to which everyone cheered. But then I dropped a condition on them. I would only do so if father and mother gave me his full guardianship and let me take him with me back to Bulgaria, where he would live with me till he was done with school, and I'd pay his rent and everything he needed to go to college anywhere he wanted in Europe. Furthermore, our entire family would only be allowed to contact him under my supervision if he wished to be contacted. If he said no, it was a no. Everyone basically jumped at me. My uncle even tried to physically remove me from the room, but my father agreed, to the shock of my mother. A few days go by and my cancer of a dad, pun intended, probably did some nasty things to mother since she decided to agree as well. Everyone thinks I'm a bonehead. Brother's with me now, just enjoying our few days left in Brazil. Everything is paid for and signed already. Am I the bonehead here? Now for some comments. Not the bonehead. You're rescuing your brother from a lifetime of abuse no one could rescue you from. Not all heroes wear capes. OP replied, I'm at least relieved that it doesn't seem like our mother sexually assaulted him, because there's a non-zero chance he's actually my kid. So yeah, it's all just effed. One commenter said, I'm confused. A non-zero chance? Is he yours or is this a translation issue? Not the bonehead, by the way. Good for you for taking him in. You're very lucky that you can afford to do so. OP said, there's a chance, but we don't know. Me and my mother. And honestly, I'd like to keep it that way. Because at the time she was frustrated my father couldn't get her pregnant again, in her words, and assaulted me several times unprotected. One commenter said, I'm so sorry to hear that. No child should have to go through that. Well, whether or not he's your son, just know that you're doing right by him by making this decision. OP said, I was 12, and yeah, that did cross my mind. One commenter asked, does he know of this possibility? OP said, my brother? No. A commenter said, this is basically the opposite of being the bonehead. You're rescuing your brother from the same abusive situation you were in yourself. The only opinion that matters is his. If they had been better parents and family, this wouldn't be an issue because your brother wouldn't be so eager to run off to another country. Not the bonehead. OP said, yeah, I only know parts of what happened. I'll get him on some therapy soon, online, so he can feel comfortable talking in our mother language. Not the bonehead for rescuing the 11-year-old. Cynical as I am, I wonder how much of the financially take care of money would have actually been used for your brother's welfare. Well played, OP. OP said, knowing our mother, at least half would be alcohol, as sad as that is to say. Not the bonehead, holy heck balls. And I thought Alabama and Mississippi were bad. My stepson turned into a monster who assaulted his own daughter. I literally vomited when I learned the whole story. Apparently, his dad's family had been abusing kids, both male and female, like that for generations, and just swept it all under the rug. My stepdaughters went scorched earth and blew the rugs to heck and gone. Now everyone in their hometown knows. He was incarcerated for life, nearly got the death penalty because the military deems crimes like that as an execution offense. The worst part about it all was that his paternal grandfather was a cop and several family members were mandated reporters. OMG. OP, I hope that you will consider therapy, if not for yourself, definitely for your brother. Info. Before making that offer to the family, did you ask your brother if he wanted it, beyond the whole he hates them? OP replied, whenever he called me ever since I moved away, he always stated that as soon as he was old enough to make the decision on his own, legally speaking, he'd come live with me. Not the bonehead. Just wanted to say that I applaud the way you're able to be the adult that you needed when you were younger. I wish all the absolute best for you and your brother's lives. You're the type of people we need more of. My family situation is a bit confusing, so I'll try my best to explain. My mom got pregnant twice as a teen, resulting in my siblings and I, 18 male, 16 male, and me, 16 female. My mom and the person I know as my dad started dating while she was pregnant with me. My whole life I was told he's my father and his name is on my original birth certificate. My bio mom and dad were unfit parents, and it resulted in us being taken by CPS, and they eventually got their parental rights taken away. We were later adopted by a different family, and they are who we see as our mom and dad. A year ago, we found out that the man we thought was our bio dad is not in fact our bio dad, and our bio dad is a person we had never met. Our being 16 female and 18 male. Our bio dad reached out to us, and while we were hesitant at first, our parents suggested we at least just say hi back. We did, and eventually we ended up meeting our bio dad and later his family. Through this, we found out that bio dad knew that our mom was pregnant but chose not to be involved and wanted nothing to do with us at the time as he wasn't ready to have children. Present day. Bio dad is married and he and his wife are struggling to have kids. So after several months of slowly gaining our trust, bio dad suggested to our parents that they have an unofficial custody with him, where we'd spend some weekends, holidays, summers, etc. and such with him and his wife. And my parents said not only are they not willing to give up weekends and holidays, etc., they also don't want to have any unofficial agreement either. This annoyed my bio dad, and he started throwing the dad card around, saying that he's our father and therefore he has the right to have us around as much as he wants, and that his suggestion was him trying to be reasonable. He then came to us saying he wants us to be a family again, and they're keeping us from him, etc., and just trash-talking my parents a lot. I guess he was trying to get us on his side, but this just made us start to not like him. The next few times we met, he just kept on trash-talking our parents, and I told him that he had multiple chances to be a parent but chose not to. He doesn't get to be a parent when it's now convenient for him. Had he stepped up earlier, he wouldn't be in this situation. I also said that if he kept trash-talking our parents, we'd stop talking to him. We've stopped talking. Our bio dad then took to social media, telling any and everybody that my parents are evil and keeping him from the only kids he might ever have, and calling us kids brainwashed, dumb, and ungrateful. Since then, we've had his family and friends contact us saying we should apologize to bio dad and to rethink our decisions. Others are blaming our parents, saying that one day we'll snap out of our parents' brainwashing and regret cutting our bio dad off. Some even took it as far as to say we're ungrateful, petty, and all kinds of mean things. Now for some comments. Not the bonehead, this is ridiculous. How can a perfect stranger enter your life as a nearly legal adult and start claiming parental rights? If he cared, he would have been present in your younger years. You and your siblings owe him nothing. Not the bonehead, you are absolutely correct. He had multiple chances to be a parent but chose not to. He doesn't get to be a parent when it's now convenient for him. If his family and friends keep harassing you, respond with that and block them. You had a great adoptive mom and dad who really care about you and aren't just using you to pacify a childless wife. I suspect if bio dad's wife has a kid, you'd get dropped like a bag of cold puke. Not the bonehead. Bio dad is delusional. Block him and his family everywhere, and if he continues to harass you, complaining to the police could be worth it. You owe him absolutely nothing. He abandoned you and now wants you back as a consolation prize because his wife can't have children. My ex and I moved in with one another out of convenience during COVID. At the time, we had only been dating 8 months. During that lease period, we began to drift apart due to having completely different ideas of what fun is. His was getting high and eating snacks, mine was reading or going to watch movies. We also had different love languages. His was physical touch, and I've always had a hard time with touching. Another year rolls around and we move in with some of my friends into a bigger house. We end up breaking up only 3 months into the lease, and he moves out since the lease is with my friends. We both had paid a relatively small deposit in my local area standard, about $650 at the beginning of the lease, and agreed to split rent costs together. With him now leaving, the rent would all be on my shoulders. I could somewhat afford it comfortably if I budgeted well, but it was still more than I expected to pay on my own. Flash forward to this year. My friends and I decided to renew the lease, but since too many of us were switching out with other people, the landlord had us sign a new lease and send in a new deposit, and we got our old one back. I now have both his and my deposit in my possession, and I don't really want to reach out and give it back. We don't talk to each other, except for maybe a happy birthday text and a polite thank you. Some of my friends think I'd be the bonehead if I didn't give it back because he could potentially be struggling with money right now and I could be helping him. But wouldn't he then remember to reach out for it since I don't have him blocked on any socials? I had his number blocked but recently unblocked it in case he did reach out for it. If it's not important enough to remember, then should I just not say anything and keep his part since I did end up having to pay more in rent since he left? Some of my friends say to just keep it since he has never asked and we don't speak. But I'm torn and I need guidance. So Reddit, would I be the bonehead? Now for some comments. You would be the bonehead. You both paid towards the deposit. That isn't your money. Send him back his portion and then move on with your life. It's not your money. Don't try to justify keeping someone else's money when you know it's not yours. You're the bonehead if you keep it. OP wrote, wouldn't he then remember to reach out for it? How would he know you got it back? Doesn't even matter. The money is his, you know it's his. Give it back to him or you're being a bonehead. You would be the bonehead if you kept it. Info. Did he pay his portion of the rent when he left or did you have to pay it all? Not the bonehead if he left and stuck you with the rent. Although he was not on the lease, the presumption was that he would cover a portion of your rent. I would put the deposit towards what he would have owed. If there's any left, send that to him. If he did help with rent, you're the bonehead for keeping the deposit. Another commenter said, agreed. People who comment you're the bonehead seem to have never rented together. It's like any other roommate situation. They had a reasonable cost expectation and she was left with a higher cost rent than she may have chosen if she were single. That deposit money goes to cover her financial loss. What is up with this comment section? It sounds like he bailed in the middle of the lease and she was on the hook for the entirety of their rent. Are you commenters not aware of how leases work? Whether or not they broke up, they signed a lease and were legally responsible for the rent until the end of the lease. Did he cover his portion of the rent? Reddit really is full of teens who live at home and have no idea what it's like in the real world. Commenter responded, because the post doesn't say he just up and left, I couldn't stop him. It says that as a result of them breaking up, it happened. Somebody had to leave, and since her friends live there, he had to. If OP felt she was truly done dirty here, she'd bring it up as it'll help her justify what she wants to do anyway. Totally against the grain here, but not the bonehead. You did him a favor by assuming the entire rent on your own in order to let him out of the obligation and responsibility that he agreed to when he signed the lease. Yes, it benefited you as well in that you didn't have to interact with your ex for the remainder of it, but financially you accepted the increased burden. If it was me, I'd calculate it out. I paid X dollars more, his portion over the term of the lease, than I would have if he paid otherwise. My guess is that the $650 is a fraction of that, and considering you assumed the rent payments and the lease, I'd say you're morally, if not legally, but this is AITA not legal advice, entitled to the security deposit that came with it. He abandoned the lease and therefore, in my opinion, abandoned the deposit. Before they even moved in with OP's friends, OP and her boyfriend were already drifting apart. I think a breakup was foreseeable. I think all of this is happening because OP was a bit more affected by the breakup than they're admitting. OP said, I had his number blocked but recently unblocked it in case he did reach out for it. But earlier she said that while they weren't talking, they do text each other. At what point were they texting each other if she had him blocked? Maybe OP just wants to keep the money because there's some hard feelings over the breakup? If that's the case, she's just better off giving it back and moving on. What do you think? Hey Reddit, just for initial context, I'm a 22 male from the Northeast US. Last week my uncle passed away. The uncle was my mom's baby brother. This came as an extreme shock to everyone, including my baby sisters and my entire mom's side of the family, such as my aunt and grandparents. My uncle had a horrible illness a few years back and we all rallied to make sure he was okay. Back to the story. My uncle was buried within the next day and I had to stay with my grandparents to make sure they were as comfortable as they could be during this process. A few days later, I received an acceptance offer from a medical school's master's program in the Northwest, Washington, Oregon. I've been waiting for others. However, this is the only one I've received a confirmation call from to date. This master's program offers an amazing linkage to a medical school, which would help me attain my dreams of becoming a medical doctor. However, to my knowledge, I found out it starts in early August instead of early September. This doesn't give me much time to spend with family to help comfort them. I come from a South Asian household, and as I'm the only son and the oldest child, I have to hold the responsibility to help my family through this process of grief. But at the same time, I have my chance for medical school sitting right in front of me. I don't know what to do if that's my only option, and I'm hoping to wait for the other programs from Philadelphia, New York City, and New Jersey so I can still be close to my family. But at the same time, if it comes down to it, would I be the bonehead? Now for some comments. Don't lose out on your future lamenting on the past, not the bonehead. OP replied, this comment really shifted the perspective for me. Thank you so much. Not the bonehead. As someone from a South Asian family, your parents will understand. You're going to be a doctor. Not the bonehead. Maybe becoming a doctor will let you save people like your uncle who might have died too young. Do it as your tribute to his memory and tell your relatives that. Not the bonehead. You can't put your life on hold and miss this kind of opportunity. Go. Get on the plane. Your family will mourn with or without you actually being there. You aren't a therapist and you would be leaving several weeks after the funeral. How could you really help your family through this process of grief? Not the bonehead. If you liked this story and you've made it this far, please consider subscribing. I really appreciate you spending your valuable time with me. Hopefully, I'll see you in the next Reddit story. In the meantime, please take care of yourself. Bye for now.